Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Winning Mondays with KW Malaysia. My name is Mariah, and I'm the training coordinator here at Keller Williams. And I'm so excited to be here. You know, we have not had Winning Mondays for a few weeks. We had there was a holiday and a lot of busy stuff going on. One very awesome thing that happened was Asia Summit. I hope most of you were there. I hope all of you were there at Asia Summit. Yeah. So yeah, we had the president of Keller Williams Worldwide coming to speak to us and a lot of other people. In fact, we had guests from 7 nations, I think. It was so cool. I had a great experience going for that. I think we had about 1,200 participants. It was quite amazing. You know, and at that event, as you know, we exist to bring agents value. That's like why we exist, right? And so at that event, we launched the KW consumer app. We launched the KW Central app for all the back-end stuff. And then we also talk about command teams for command. There was like so much new stuff. So I really hope all of you, especially those that are in KW, you know, all of you, that you're looking into all the new value that we have for you, the new features. And another really awesome thing that was launched was KW Malaysia Cares. I want to ask everyone who's here right now, if you visited the KW Malaysia Cares booth and you signed the board or you bought a t-shirt, can you just type a 5 in the chat? I want to see who here is like supporting our KW Malaysia Cares. Woo, yeah, awesome. The t-shirt is so nice, right? I already was wearing mine. It's so nice. So anyway, everyone, I want to let you know KW Malaysia Cares is like, it's a big deal. It's launched now. You'll hear a bit, maybe in the announcements, we will share a bit more about that. So you can look forward to that. Okay, so just to get started on what we're doing today, we're going to be talking the last session on the Shift book, Winning Monday Shift Edition. So these are tactics to power through a global shift market, which is what we're going through right now, right? So you can see we've been going through a lot of different topics, and today we're going to be covering creating urgency to buy. So yeah. So you can look forward to this. This is what we're going to be talking about. This is from this awesome book. If you haven't read it, you should get a copy and read it. It's really great stuff. I have been learning a lot. Yeah, so we're overcoming buyer reluctance and yeah, teaching our buyers how to buy. Okay, as we get started, let me just introduce first our guests. We have 2 people with us today. We have Jonathan Lee and Carmen Lee, but they are not related to each other as far as I know.
No, we are not. We are not.
That's great. Do you guys can you just introduce yourselves first, and then I'll open the poll.
Ladies first.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, good.
Okay, so hi, I'm Carmen Lee. I've been in real estate for the last about 7 years, dabbled in projects, and recently for the last 1 year plus, I was doing sub-sale under Elite Team. Love you too, Farah. I was doing sub-sale under Elite Team. We're focusing in the Subang. Elite Team is a team under MC2 that focuses in the secondary market in Subang. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much, Carmen. Yeah, John.
Right. So Jonathan Lee, I love speaking on Mondays mornings with you all. So my role is to make sure that I continue to talk every Monday and make sure that everything happens in the company the way I say it's supposed to happen, right? So that's my role. So yes.
He's the CEO, by the way, for those who don't know.
Okay.
Okay, I have a quick poll. I want to say especially a big hello to those who are on Facebook Live. I think some are coming in from Vietnam and Thailand on Facebook Live. So a big hello to you guys, and come and join us. I'm going to launch a poll right now just so we can see how relevant this topic is to all of you. All right, so the question says, have you found that your buyers are unwilling or hesitant to make reasonable offers, like on your, whatever properties? So the options are yes, most buyers are like this, or some of my buyers are like this, or maybe not many of my buyers are like this. So if you on Facebook also can just answer in the chat if you have found that your buyers are unwilling or hesitant to make reasonable offers. If you find this to be an issue nowadays, just please let us know. We want to see, this is great research, right? We're finding out what's actually happening in the market. Is this a real issue or not? I'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, come. We have more than half of you have answered. I'll give you another 10 seconds. Let's get some more people in here filling out the poll. That will be great. Awesome. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay, I'm going to share the results here. Okay, so here we see that the majority said that some buyers are like this, 57%, but actually a big portion said most buyers are like this, like more than 30%. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, John, what do you think about this?
I think this is a test to tell us that we are all in the reality of this world right now, that a lot of people are governed by fear, despite of, doesn't matter what economy we are in right now. Making a decision, pulling the trigger to buy a property has always a lot of consideration. So one of the key things that most buyers will always think, despite of any market condition, is I'm afraid I'm paying too much money for the property. That's always going to be at the back of the head of a buyer. Especially, I think it's prevalent in Asia market as well. I don't want to make that mistake where I overpaid for something that is not worth what I paid for.
Right. So this is what it's about, right? There's that fear, I guess. Right.
Right.
Carmen, do you also, what's your experience since you're down on the ground? Do you find that most buyers are like this?
I wouldn't say most, but there are some buyers who are a bit more reluctant to make the purchase. But I think a majority of the buyers I deal with, because I'm more of a listing agent, majority of the buyers I choose to work with are those who are ready to make a purchase. It's whether they can find the right property or not.
Right. Okay, so before we get more into like the details of all this topic, I just want to ask you first, what's your approach actually to working with the buyers, Carmen? Maybe we start with you, Carmen. What's your approach to working with buyers in general, despite, yeah.
Okay. So as mentioned just now, I'm more towards a listing agent. So generally, I work more with sellers. But when it comes to buyers, right? Firstly, I would qualify the buyers. Only if they are able, ready, and willing to buy, then I will work with them. So what does it mean? Like, I think we'll be covering that later as well in the slides. But able basically means someone who's able to afford the property. Ready, like I have identified very clear personal reasons that they want to buy, and willing is that they would actually pull the trigger if I was to show them something that matches. So once they fit this criteria, then I would ask a bit deeper, this and that, what are your requirements, what are you looking for? And then I would show them like maybe like 3 to 5 houses at one go. And then I would continue gauging their willingness along the way. Because sometimes people change, what they say on day one, maybe like 2 months down the road, their approach change. So I would gauge their willingness along the way and decide to continue working with them based on their willingness.
Okay. So does this change during the shift time? Like what if they're not so able, ready, willing? What do you do with them?
I think during a shift market, it's actually magnified. Like I would be even more strict on this criteria actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice, thank you.
Because resources are, because in the shift market, basically we also have to control costs as agent, right? So I think I'll be even more strict on that. Yeah.
Right. How about you, John? What's your like approach to working with buyers? And I mean, in the past.
Okay, just to qualify, I have not worked with buyers for a very long time. Just to be very fair to the audience, right? It's not like yesterday I spoke to a buyer, but in my journey as a real estate agent on the ground, just like all of you here today, which was not very long ago, when I was still on the ground, I think what Carmen said very clearly is able, willing, and ready to go. Are they ready to go? Do you know if that person is willing to make commitments right now? And you must find a way to have that conversation. I think a lot of times, from my observation, when a buyer call up, everybody gets very excited. Buyer coming, they want to buy something, right? Nothing wrong with that. You should be excited, by the way. If you're not excited, check your pulse, check your heartbeat, something is not right. You should be excited when a buyer calls you up, right? Now, with that positive posture, important to understand what the buyer need is right now. There is this mindset that most agents have in their mind is a lot of buyers are not serious. And I only want serious buyers. How many of you are like that in this market today, or in the forever market? Doesn't matter whether the market is shift or not. You always worry, is the buyer serious or not? You all agree? If you agree with me, please press 1. If you don't agree with me, press 2. Always worry whether the buyer is serious or not. Are they taking us for a ride or not? Are they taking us to waste our time or not? Right. Now, there are some incidents in my life that I've met people who are not very sound mind call up just to make fun or have some time off. There are some people like that. But in my whole career, probably less than 5 of them are like this. Right. Majority of people have some intention to buy or have some idea or some thoughts that they want to make a commitment somewhere, somehow. But the challenge with most buyers today is that they don't understand what they need sometimes, and they need someone to journey with them. So I will flip the question and ask this question: are we a serious real estate agent? Because when we are a serious real estate agent, we begin to do what we can to help the client to understand their needs. We understand, they also need to understand, and understand the market. Now, for example, I have many buyers. Last time I used to work in the area called Mont Kiara. Many years ago, which is not too long ago, everybody thinks that Mont Kiara is overpriced, because they say in those days the landed property and the condo are the same price.
Oh.
Right. So if you buy for example, a Mont Kiara Pines, it's about 400,000. A landed house in Bandar Utama is 400,000. You all remember those days not too long ago, right? This is probably about 16, 17 years ago, when I was 12 years old.
We know you're young, John. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I know. So then people always think it's overpriced, because the landed property was always the benchmark. Everybody thinks that land is important to them. Now, it's not wrong to think like that, but people also don't understand there is value in high rise. There's value in security. There's value in facilities. There's value in neighborhood. So there are many, many things. So we need to journey with them to educate them. So I always tell clients, like, let me give you a tour so that you understand the value here first. So coming from education, and in the education journey, trying to understand why they're buying, why they're looking at a condo, why they're looking. And a lot of times during those times, that is 16, 17 years ago, during my time, my experience is the main reason why people were moving out from the landed to a condo. Number one reason that time was security. Number two is they want the neighborhood. Now, that was the majority of people that I see and observe. And because I was having conversations with them. So I think my point is, and you asked a short question, I answer you in a long way. My point is, you need to understand, be serious about our work. Our work is just not about showing houses, opening doors and show houses. Our work is trying to help people understand what they need so that we can get them what they want. And sometimes people call up agents, they are not clear what they want. That's why they call you. If they are clear what they want, they will just zoom into that particular listing and buy. There are some clients like that as well. Just like what Carmen says, I will go into, I know what I want. I'm just going to go straight in and look for the target. Now, there are those buyers, but majority of the buyers start their journey looking first, right? And they probably look a long time before they realize that, okay, this is what I want. I'm going to call that agent. But the problem is the first agent that spoke to them did not do that journey with them. If they journey with that client that way, right, you will close the deal. It's a matter of time. So I think the perspective that we need to think from an agent is how do you deal with buyers is you must be curious and you must come from contribution and you must want to understand what they are looking for. So for example, today, right, if you go to see a doctor, if you are sick right now, how would you feel when you enter the clinic? The doctor tell you, take Panadol and go home. Or the doctor tell you, before inspecting you, before asking you a question, the doctor will tell you, hey, you need chemotherapy right now. Without inspecting you, without asking you any question, how would you feel, man? You will freak out and run away. Can you imagine if today you are talking to a client who wants to buy something, who is interested to buy something, but not sure what they want, and tell you, hey, you need to buy this one. This is the best one. It's like asking the guy who for chemotherapy without understanding what his problem is, right? So that perspective is important. I hope I'm able to help people, all of us here today.
Right.
That coming from contribution, understanding what they need. Because if you don't do that step, it doesn't matter what market you are in, right? It's the same thing. Now, in a shift market, it is more important to understand their main motivation, why they want to buy. Because if you don't understand that, you cannot create urgency.
Right. That's
right?
great.
Does that make
Thank
sense?
you.
Yeah.
You know, Carmen, listening to John talking about like helping buyers understand what they even need, what they're looking for. Have you had that experience working with buyers? Sometimes they're not clear, or you have to journey with them a bit. I'm curious to hear any stories from you.
So wait, so the question is buyers who are not clear about what they
Yeah,
want?
or maybe they think they're clear, but you have found that when you work with them, you need to, it's helpful to take some time to ask them questions and clarify what are they looking for before you just show them properties.
Yeah, I have definitely experienced that. I think it was a couple of months ago where there was this one buyer who was looking for, she gave me certain requirements. Oh, I wanted a corner unit, I wanted a lot of windows, blah, blah, blah. So I went on a search for those kind of properties for her. Along the way, I think she got a bit, I'm not too sure why, but I think she changed her mind. She changed her mind. And
Interesting.
I have to admit, I was also a bit slow at my end. So what happened is she ended up buying another property from another agent. And when I went through that property, it did not suit her. It did not match anything that she mentioned.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it's very important to find out firstly, like what exactly the buyer wants and
Right.
why they want it. Like, yeah, you say you want 4 rooms, but for what? For what reasons? Like, what do you envision in the first room, second room, third room, fourth room? Tell me exactly like why. And the more they verbalize it out, I think they will realize that sometimes what they want is not exactly what they need. And then their requirements could change along the way. So it's a lot of check along the way to ensure we're not wasting our time searching for their original plan, you know? Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. That's a great lesson. I mean, a hard lesson, but yeah, right. I think it's so true. I think all of us are like that, right? Sometimes we think we know what we want, but actually we don't, because we're not the expert in this area. Then only as we go along.
And our act is through the
Yeah.
process we begin to realize what we want.
Right.
It's through the process that we realize what we want. And if that agent who is really good at going through that process with them would be able to help them get what they want, and they will build that relationship, right? And the client will listen to this person. But when the minute you just stuff in front of them, you push them to buy something just because you want to make a piece of commission, that's when they will pull back from you, and they will start calling someone else, because your value becomes depreciated by not wanting to help them get what they want, but wanting them to buy something from you. So it's very important to have that perspective in place.
Right. They will feel it. They'll feel like you're not really with them trying to help them. Right. You're just there to get the sale. Okay. Okay. So earlier, you know, in the poll and everything, we talked about, you know, maybe buyers not being unwilling to make that reasonable offer, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So why, you know, John, you touched on it, but do you have more to share? Like, why do you think that is? What is that about? Why are they not willing to?
In this shift market, let's just focus on this shift market, right? Most buyers will have this mindset that prices are dropping.
Okay.
And then you have the other spectrum where owners are saying, no, prices going up because material. So there's this discrepancy of clarity of where the market is. Now, in our market, it's not the most transparent market. When I mean transparent market is we have daily leading data of every transaction that's happening. Now, we are at the process of attempting to get some of this data to help our agents. We're in the process of doing that. But in general, because of lack of data information, a lot of buyers are assuming that price will drop. Mm-hmm. Or they assume, the worst assumption is the price is going to crash. Like we are going to see a major crash, a major meltdown. This is always the fantasy of most buyers. There's this fantasy, and it's a phenomenon globally. It's just that in certain countries where data is available, is more transparent, you will see less fantasy. The fantasy is not as extreme. So you might come in the buyer and say, I remember I was serving this client who is looking for a commercial lot in PJ, right? Always asking when is the price going to drop. And I always tell him why you're waiting for the price to drop. And the price keeps going up through time, right? Through time, because there's this fantasy that the price is dropping. But in reality, it may not be true for most areas. Okay. And in reality, yes, there's some adjustment. That is where, as a real estate agent, you need to be the local economist of choice. You need to understand the condition of supply and demand. The only way you can communicate to people that you are the local economist of choice is, number one, these are a few things you must write down. Number one, you need to know supply and demand in that market. Okay. You need to understand how much stock they have in that market. This market is no longer a speed to game market. It is a skill to game market. You have to be very skillful, and the skills that you need to acquire is the ability to understand what is the supply and demand situation in your market. You must know. Now, what is supply? Supply is available stock. What is demand? How many buyers are there in the market right now? How many people are searching for property right now? How many appointments that you have every week, every month, every day, every year? What does that look like? You need to understand a perspective about that. Supply and demand will give you some information. Number two, past transaction record in the market. You need to understand the past 6 months, what's going on in this market, right? And how have the asking prices be? The fourth thing is you need to know the condition of all the sellers in this market. Where are they? Are you in relationship with all the sellers? Or are you working with an agent that have relationship with all the sellers so they can tell you what's going on in the market, right? So you need to be very, very tight on the ground in this market, because once you understand the economy of the market, which is mainly supply and demand, your conversation with the buyers will be very different. So here's a conversation. Assuming, Mariah, you're a buyer today and you came to me and say, when is the price going to drop? Just ask me that question.
John, I want to get a good deal. When is the price going to drop?
So, Mariah, this is what's happening in the market today. Last week, there were 2 transactions in Jalan 3/4.
Okay.
And last 2 months, there were 4 transactions in Jalan 3/4. And the prices that was transacted in these 2 places of those 6 properties averagely around 750,000. Now, the market value for the past 6 months, based on transaction, there are about 40, 50 transactions right now. I'm happy to print out the report to you. And right now, those transacted prices averagely around 735,000. But the last 2 months, there are 6 transactions transacted at 750,000.
Sure.
I believe you can buy something. I will show you the data, but I believe if you can buy something around 750 or slightly below 750, you should pull the trigger.
Oh, I see.
So you see, you didn't answer the question when the price is going to drop, because the secret of this thing is this. Don't tell me I tell you this, right? But it's just going to be live on Facebook. I know. Don't tell me I tell you, everyone. Nobody will know when the price will drop.
Right.
Whoever tells you when the price will drop, they are lying. Because nobody knows. Do you know? Nobody knows. I don't know. That the buyer knows, seller, nobody knows. But what we have to tell them, what we know. Focus on what we know, not what we don't know. If you focus on what we don't know, then your answers are what you don't know. It's not a good answer, by the way. You are following what I'm trying to say. You need to understand how to communicate the reality of the market. Now, I just gave a demonstration. I didn't do my before I speak to any buyers every week, I make sure I know my reports. I make sure I know my data. I prepare with this kind of data, and I show them this conversation. So when Mariah, when I answer you this way, how did you feel?
I feel like you know more than me, lah. You actually know something, and you're like, okay, maybe he has something that I should listen to because it sounds intelligent.
Now, I'm not saying price won't drop. I'm saying this is the trend right now.
Right.
This is the trend right now. Now, based on your need, when you need to buy, because if today Mariah says to me that I need to move house in the next 3 months, then you can't wait, ma. So if you want to get good value, this is what I advise. Right. And there are some people don't even ask questions like this. So Mariah asked me this question about, can you ask me from a buyer's perspective? You are a buyer today. Ask me how much would the price drop? What is a good deal? Ask me this question.
Okay. So John, what would be a good deal? Like, how much is the price going to drop? You know, what should I be waiting for? Right.
That's a very good question, Mariah. Mariah, in your opinion, based on what data I just told you, what do you think is a good deal for you?
Oh, okay. I guess, you mentioned that this is like the most recent one. So probably around there, like the most recent.
How many % of price adjustment from where we are talking about right now do you think that it's going to be a good deal for you?
It's a good question. I guess we always wanted to go lower, right? Of course, I want to save money if I can.
Of course. But what do you think is a good deal that you are willing to make a commitment right now?
Yeah, I mean, as long as I know that the value of the property is going to go up later, eventually, then I feel it's a good deal. Yeah.
Right. So what does that mean? So see, she's not even clear what good deal she, and most buyers will be like that. Then
Right.
I will ask, Mariah, do you think a 5% or to 3% adjustment or a 5,000 reduction would be a good deal right now?
Oh, I see. Right.
So depending on the buyers, right? But I ask question because your understanding of good deal and my understanding of good deal is different, right? And the reality of a market where the good deal exists is also different. So example, if you're in Desa Park City today and you try to get 10% reduction in listing, good luck. You get 5,000 ringgit, that's a good deal reduction.
I see. So it'll
That,
depend.
right? So, but I can only tell you all these things if I know the data of what's happening. That's what it means by being the local economist of choice.
Right. Very cool. Okay. I want to ask, like, on this topic of, looking at the data, figuring out the price. So Carmen, as an agent, how do you determine like what a good offer amount should be? Like, how do you communicate this with your buyers? Like, do you advise them on this? How do you do that?
Okay, for good offer price, it's usually based on a couple of things. One of it is comparative market analysis of the current market, past data, as well as the repair costs. So like what John said, I think he brought out a very good point about actually asking the buyer back. Like, what do you think is, based on the data I've showed you, what do you think is a good price? Because I think when it comes to negotiation, it's always best to not throw out the first price first. It's good to understand where they are at, because sometimes a good offer price on their end, it could be a higher offer price than what we have in mind, which I think would benefit. I mean, how do I say it? But basically, maybe they're not looking for an extremely low price. For them, getting it at market price is a good price already.
Right.
So then it's a win-win for the seller and the buyer. So get them to make an offer first.
Right.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. No, but I like that you're saying like to ask them back, right? Like to get them involved in the conversation. You're not just like telling them like do this, do that. Here's what I tell you. It's more of a conversation.
Correct. But I also come across buyers who are also very smart. They would find a way to ask me back. So then it's up to me to steer the conversation again. So when it comes to such buyers, right, who really want me to say out a price, what I do is I usually try to understand the buyer based on their personality types. Like you can see based on interaction, right, after a while, is this buyer a straightforward, honest person? Like they are the kind of person who just tell me a price and I'll match that price? Or they are the kind of person who always want to win the deal? That's what I would gauge lah. So if a person is a straightforward, honest, not honest, sorry, I wouldn't use the word honest, like a straightforward kind of person, right? I'll just tell them, maybe you enter at this price and you would most likely get the deal. I wouldn't promise you would most likely get the deal, but no guarantees because it still depends on the seller. But if I feel that person is a bit more like they must win, they must feel like they win, right? Then I'll usually give them a range. Like for example, if I know the seller was going to close at, let's say for example, 850K, that's a price the seller will be happy to get. I would tell the buyer, maybe you make an offer with the range of 860 to 870, around that. I'm just trying to anchor them to a higher price. Because I know deep down at the end of the day, they would definitely offer me 830 already. At least there's a room for negotiation over there. And at the end of the day, the buyer feels happy when they feel like, okay, at least I got the price lower than the range she originally told me about. Yeah, so that's also something that is not really part of this topic, but it's about managing the buyer's remorse, because that happens a lot. Buyer's remorse, seller's remorse. They feel like they lost the deal. So as a negotiator, especially when we manage both ends, right? We are the listing agent and the buyer agent. It's important to make both parties feel like they win, I feel. Yeah. And that's what I would do for those kind of buyers.
I totally agree. Totally agree, Carmen, that sometimes we forget that part, that how can we be fair to both parties and help both win? Right. You got to be very clear. How do we do that? And that's important. And I, for some reason, I don't know, just agent thing, like every buyer want to win, every seller want to win. Agent also want to win. So how do you do a win-win-win, right? Help them feel that they are winning.
Correct.
Right.
So
but go ahead. Carmen, go ahead.
I wanted to add into that, like I learned this through a very hard way, because my mindset was always like, okay, I'm getting a lot of listings right now. I'm a seller's agent. So I dealt with buyers who gave me an offer and I said, nah, the seller won't accept it. And then I realized that the buyer turned cold easily. They felt like this agent is not on my side. Every stakeholder you deal with must feel like you are on their side, regardless of whichever side you're really on. That's what I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's about how we
Just be
communicate.
fair. I mean, just be fair to them as all. Just be
Right,
fair
right.
and help
Yeah.
them get what they want. Be fair and manage their expectations. Manage their expectations well.
No, but I love it, Carmen. Talking about like psychoing them, but I mean actually for their benefit also. Like you're just helping them, understanding how they think, and then how can they feel like you're on their side? Like, I mean that you're caring for them as a person to get what they want, right? They want to win, then help them win, lah. You know?
Correct. Because at the end of the day, I think like it's all about like managing perceptions lah. Like, you know, this kind of buying process at the end of the day, it's all everybody wants to feel like they win. So
Yeah.
it's not lying or if you ask me honestly,
Yeah.
I think it's lying or manipulation anyway.
Fine.
The buyer found the property they want to buy. The seller wants to sell a property at this price. But you know what? Ego always comes in the way. Both
Right.
parties want to feel like they win. So it's really how do we manage those egos at times, I feel.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
find out a price, and then both parties are always happier towards the end of the day. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. Okay, I want to just bring up this awesome book. So I read the chapter on this. I thought it was so interesting. So this, the Shift book talks about how strategies to create that urgency to buy. John, I know you also read this book before. Can you share with us like what are those strategies? I think it's like page 178 or something. What are all these
Yeah, I
strategies?
think it's page 188 that you can see.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. I think it's 178. You're right.
Okay.
Let me see my page. Sorry, it's 174. Buyer's urgency. Page 174 in the Shift book. I'm going to share my screen right now. You all see my screen, okay?
Good.
Right. These are the three key things that helps an agent understand the urgency of the buyer. Now, you cannot create urgency if you don't know the truth behind the urgency. Meaning you cannot fake an urgency. You just can't fake it. You got to understand what is it that they are looking at and what is important. Now, there are three key things. The idea of being able, ready, and willing. I'll go through one by one very slowly. Able meaning they have the money and they have the credit worthiness to get a loan. They are able to commit one. You've got to first help them see that they are able to commit. Now, in this market, if the client understand what is his affordability range, you should be working a lot more strategically or tactically on their credit worthiness and their available cash. You need to be a little bit like a financial advisor here, even though we are not doing that as our main role, but you get to ask questions like, what's the monthly payment that you'll be comfortable paying right now? Okay. The market is shifting, interest rate is going up. Just want you to know what's that looking like. Now, if you are downloaded our KW Central app, you have a loan calculator over there and an affordability calculator there as well. You need to understand what is the DSR. I don't have time to talk about that today, but you need to understand all these things. You need to show them where they are and help them see what is it they can afford to buy. Now, not necessarily they must buy cheap property or whatever, but what is it they can afford to buy? They need to know what kind of property they can commit to. So the ability is very important, right? And you might say, for example, why is this important? I'm going to go deep down a little bit. So for example, if today there is a correction in this market for that particular property that this client is willing to buy, let's just say the market has been always trading around 800,000-900,000. But suddenly at 800,000, there are two properties that came out at 700,000, 200,000 less. And 700,000, the affordability for the monthly payment is now lower because the price has collected, right? Now, suddenly, his availability to buy that property becomes a potential possibility because he has come to a point of where he is able to afford. You must understand that perspective, right? That's just an example. So ability is important, and this is where you become the local economy of choice by understanding not only about the buyers, but also about the market in their location. Now, readiness. Is this person, what's the reason of him buying? The number one question you all should write down today from this lesson is asking this question, this very simple question. Mr. Buyer, why is it important for you to make this purchase today, right now? How many of you know why they are buying? And I find it fascinating that a lot of agents do not ask that question. They go show the house first and they talk about the house, but they didn't ask why the person is interested to buy something.
Mm.
Right? I was just journeying with a friend recently, who is looking to build something or buy something for his business, and having that conversation with him, understanding between buying a ready-made one and buying a land to build something. Just real story, by the way, right? Helping him journey through which is important to him. Of course, I would like that, but value also more important, right? So it's a journey, right? But I know for a fact he's buying that property long-term for his usage of his business. I know that. And because of that, I will always have conversation. How do you feel about using this for the next 10, 15 years? How do you feel about staying here for the next 10, 15 years? How do you feel about this investment opportunity that potentially could fund your children's education? That is important to you because I know that's why you're buying this for. That is why you must understand the personal reasons why they are buying it. Now, there are some people who are not clear what's their personal reason, but very rare because property is a major thing, very, very rare. Very, very rare, right? I actually had one client many years ago that he told me her reason is she told me her reason is that she's afraid that her husband may divorce her. She's buying something in preparation for that. That was the craziest reason I ever had. But normally it's because it's investment, it's the upgrade, it's downgrade for my children, whatever it is, you need to understand the reason. Number three, you must be willing. What is it that you're able to, what is it that you're willing to commit to? When are you willing to commit to? What's the timeline? What are the criterias that will help you to commit to this opportunity right now? For example, maybe the guy needs to understand his monthly payments before he's willing to commit. He doesn't know. Maybe he's afraid that it will cost him too much money. So sit down and talk to him about it. What is the market expectation? When would the market look like in the next 3 to 5 years? What was the market like 3 to 5 years ago? What is the trend here? So market expectation is fundamentally part of the willingness for me to pull the trigger and to make that commitment. And sometimes in order for me to come through this willingness, I need to show you a lot of options. Now, I famously go on training and tell many agents. I had one client, so he's I can still remember his name. His name is called David Wood Jr. I still remember. He's a UK guy. Came to Malaysia, worked for an oil and gas company. Called me up from an ad to want to rent a property and realized that actually with the amount of money he's paying for rental from his company allowance, the company gave him allowance. So he signed a personal lease, but company gave him I think a 14,000 ringgit allowance a month. And then as he was talking to me, he asked me, what does it cost to buy this anyway? Because I got this allowance, right? I can get a loan and get the allowance to fund the allowance. This is something that I can have, right? So as I went through the whole journey and showed him. By the way, it took me 3 months to show him more than 50 properties. So sometimes for them to understand the market is they need to see options. Don't expect to come to this market. Don't expect someone to see one house and buy on the spot. Now, it can happen. It should happen. It will happen. But generally, today we're talking about most buyers who are unwilling to move, right? Is because they have not seen enough options. It's as simple as that, no, guys. And guess what? When I showed David the first house he saw, after 3 months, seeing 50 properties, he actually bought the first house I showed him. And all he needed was to validate by himself that all these other things may not be suitable for him. It's as simple as that. Right? Sometimes we need to journey through his buy. And then if I'm a normal agent at that point in time, I would say he's not serious. I want to see so many houses. Where got people see 3 million ringgit house see for 50 houses. Right? For that 3 months, almost every weekend, I'm seeing him and his wife. I see him more than my mother-in-law at that point in time, you know. But because he needs to understand, he needs to go through a journey, right? So willingness is based on how they understand the market and how they are more comfortable to pull the trigger. And everyone is different. There is not one way to convince someone to do it, but there is ways for us to make sure that the guy still calls us back, right? So these are the 3 key things. When you understand their willingness, when you understand that why they're doing this, they're ready, and you know their ability, you can create agency. David, this is the only one right now in the market, last corner unit. Right? And you have been seeing for 3 months now. I'm not sure how long it will last in the market, but I believe it's a good opportunity for you right now. What's stopping you from buying?
Right.
What's holding you back? How can I help you move forward from this right now?
Right.
Right.
Great. That's a great story. Carmen, do you have any stories to share on this topic? Like, there's about, helping people find their why and like, becoming the local economist of choice. What's your experience with all these?
Yeah, I do have stories. Okay, maybe I can talk about the why part because that was something I learned very recently, and I learned it out of the real estate context. So I thought it was very
Okay.
interesting. I could apply it to our real estate business as well. So I think to those who are close to me, right, like from the Whitfield KW community, they would know that I actually suffer from chronic eczema. It's a skin condition. So I recently went to this doctor who is very specialized in eczema. And I've seen all the best dermatologists in town. Every single one, you name them, I know all of them already. But this guy is different. He didn't just see me like what John said and just offered chemotherapy at once. He actually went to my deep why. He asked me like, why do you see the need to heal your eczema? I said, oh, I want to have good skin. And then he went deeper, like, why is this important to you? Blah, blah, blah. He went why so many times.
Wow.
And the final part was, I told him that I've wasted a lot of time, money, and I lost a lot of personal things that matter to me personally because of this condition. I don't want to go through that again. So
Wow.
after telling him that, he determined that that was my big why, and he prescribed me an antihistamine diet where I could only, a low histamine diet where I could only eat bok choy, sweet potatoes, rice, chicken, and carrots for 1 month,
Wow.
only 5 items. And I've been doing this for 1 week already. I thought I would give up by day 3, but every time he would like just say again, like, how, like, if you don't go through this, right, how do you want to relieve everything that you've been through before this? So it's really getting to that big why of a person. So when I went through that journey with this doctor, I realized that if we could do the same thing with our real estate clients, right, it's very powerful. It's just the dynamics totally, from like a transactional, just a real estate transaction to a really kind of emotional journey. And that's what really makes us stand out compared to many other transactions, I feel. So for example, I actually use it on one of my clients recently, like what I've done for this doctor. I was with this client who is looking to upgrade from like a 4-bedroom to a 6-bedroom. So I asked him like, oh, why is there a need for so many bedrooms? And then he said, oh, my kids are growing up, I want them to have their own bedrooms. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, why is like, so why is it so important for your kids to have their own bedrooms? Then he said, oh, like they want to have their own space, their own privacy, blah, 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 blah. But I felt like that was not the final answer. It was still a bit like surface. So after a couple of times meeting with him, right, I actually asked a bit deeper. Actually, why is it important to you that your kids feel that way? He said, because I would feel like a very accomplished dad then. So the why is there, if you get the clear why, right, it's no longer going to a house and saying, oh, this is a 33 feet by 80 feet house. The rooms you can fit in a king size bed, you can put a wardrobe here. It's about imagine when we talk to our clients, it's then like, you imagine your kids living here, like these rooms, they could build their life here, and then like they could feel independence, and then like towards the end, like I think your kids will feel like very proud to be in a family that they are, like, like with a dad who can provide for them and all. So towards the end, it's the idea as a realtor, I think, for us is to just keep their why like at the tip of our tongues and at the top of our mind, right? So use it when it's needed, because when it comes to the buying process, right, it's very tedious for the buyers, very tedious. If you're in a subsale market, you have to go under the sun. You have to wait for your agent to come and open the door. Some agents say, oh, sorry, wrong key, let's reschedule. It's very tiring for the buyers, and sometimes they get lost in all this clutter that they forget their why. So our job is to remind them, hey, don't give up. Don't say postpone the next month. Let's do it this month. Remember what you wanted to do at the beginning.
Wow. Carmen, thank you so much for sharing that personal story of yours. That is, I literally want to cry just hearing that story. It is so touching. And even the story about your buyer, just coming to that core piece, right? That he wants to be an accomplished dad. That is very moving. All of you listening on this, do you get some value from, are you hearing the power of knowing a person's why? Are you hearing it? That whatever difficulty is going on, if you're hearing this, can you just type in the chat like a number 1, just so we know if you're catching how powerful it is. If you, not just one time you have to ask, right? They're saying you have to ask and then ask, okay, but why that? Okay, but why that? But why that? What is it really about for you? And the power of being able to tap into that when the person is starting to falter, like they don't want to go through it, then you remind them, why are they doing this? I think people don't even know why they're doing something. And if we can help them discover it, they will feel so they will feel like you care about them so much and you're helping them so much. Yeah, it's really
And
powerful.
every transaction becomes more meaningful, Mariah. Like I
Oh.
think at the end of the day, like transactions become more meaningful. Not just numbers, but you feel like, oh, I actually helped this family, I actually helped this man feel like a better father. You know?
Right.
It makes the journey more meaningful, I feel, yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
So good. I think you can, I think everyone want to become an agent after hearing your story. So good. Okay, I want to move on here. You know, this topic about addressing buyer reluctance, right? You mentioned that the third item, right? So how do you go about doing that? John, do you want to share a little bit, like, how would you address buyer reluctance when they're not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to role play you, Mariah.
Oh,
I'm
no,
going to
go.
ask you this question and then you answer me. And the way to answer reluctance is to help that person self-discover. It's not about telling him. So if you go into a handling objection battle, you will lose. The person that will lose is the agent, because you create something called tension. When you argue between that person, it doesn't work. So here's I'm gonna role play. I'm gonna ask you, Mariah, what's stopping you from moving forward with this transaction right now? Just tell me whatever ridiculous stuff that you have, or whatever you feel like answering as a normal person that's buying, right? So what's stopping you from progressing?
Okay, I'm just worried that, like, I'm gonna regret later. Basically, I'm gonna regret. I'm gonna find out a much better property. It's gonna be a cheaper one, and then I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I should have waited. I should have went for a different one. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're afraid that you might lose out on a better opportunity.
Yes, correct.
How would you feel if you lose out on this opportunity and this may be the better opportunity?
Oh, then I also regret.
Have you ever had any of this regret experience before?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And you know that this cycle of this market is coming back only at a certain cycle. It doesn't happen every year, every month. It's probably every 8 years once, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. Besides this, what's stopping you from moving forward?
I don't know. I think that's the main thing, that I don't know. Just making sure I really have the best possible, like, value. I mean, it's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money to spend. So I want to make sure I get the best possible buy.
What do you think is the best way for me to support you to see that this potentially could be the best value for you?
I guess I just want to see what's out there. I want to know that there's not some fantastic thing, you know, like if I can see enough that I know that, I guess if I can see that the one I have now is better than other ones, and I feel confident that it's not going to suddenly drop, you know, then I will feel good.
How long would you like to go into this journey of discovering, and how many do you need to see in order for you to see that this is the right opportunity for you?
That's a good question, actually. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't want to spend the next like 6 months of my life doing this. I guess maybe if I saw like 3 or 4 other properties to know that this is really the best, I will feel pretty confident. Yeah.
So if you can see in the next 2 weeks, I can show you 4 or 5 more properties that is similar. And then you can have a look of it at it again. And if there isn't anything available in the market, and this is the only one in the next 2 weeks, would that be able to help you to see that this is the best option for you right now?
Yeah, it would actually. I will feel pretty confident. Thank you.
Brick script. How did you feel, Mariah, when I go through the journey with you?
Yeah, actually, I felt like quite shocked. I'm like, oh, suddenly you're asking me how many. Then it's a good question, because then I start to question, like, do I really want to waste so much time looking at like for 50 properties?
So here is how the normal agent do it. Okay, Mariah, I'm going to do it like, Mariah, why don't you buy?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a good deal or not.
This is the best deal in town, Mariah. If you don't buy, you will regret it.
Oh, really? Are you sure?
If you don't,
I won't trust you. I won't trust you.
I see so many people like you regret it all the time. They missed out.
Okay, break script. I honestly don't trust you when you say that. Sorry, John.
So, 2 things happen. One thing, you don't trust me. Number 2, I'm telling you are stupid in a way, right? You feel that you're being looked down upon, right?
Yeah, I'm being played. I'm just like, you're just saying it's the best deal. You're like, I don't trust.
Correct. So it doesn't work that way, because that is not coming from contribution. Now, it may be the fact that this is the best deal, and you as an agent, you know it. You know it's the best deal. But in order for you to help that person understand it, you need to journey with them right now. Those who are listening in the chat on Facebook and also on Zoom, when you heard that conversation, the first round conversation about me asking questions, what were your ahas? Maybe you can share your ahas on the chat box right now. What are some of your ahas as you heard that conversation just now? Let's see if anyone caught anything.
It's quite cool. I felt you're a very good coach, John. I was really impressed.
Well, I spend a lot of time talking to a lot of buyers, right? So if I want to understand the market, if you want to be smart in the market today, have more conversation with your buyers, have more conversation with sellers. If you don't have conversations with them, you don't know what's going on. No ahas. Okay, what's an inspiring story? Okay, but there's no
Let's
ahas.
ask Carmen. What did you see in that conversation, Carmen? Anything,
Right.
any comments about this role play we just had? It was very impromptu, guys. We never planned any of this. I'm like, oh, I think
Right.
you're muted, Carmen.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Oh yeah, just
Yeah,
now.
question.
Do you have any aha from this like role play we just did? Anything? What do you think of John's skills working with this buyer?
I think John is really good. I think like this kind of, at the end of the day, it's really about the ability to ask like conversation, to ask hard questions. I feel if we can ask hard questions in a nice way, right, buyers will be very like, I mean, they'll be shocked lah, because not many people can do that and have the courage to do that. So it's just about uncovering along the way, and then we just see
Right.
how it goes from there lah. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I say in this market, it's not about speed, it's not about strength, it's about skill. And the number one skill that all agents should have now is the ability to ask very, very deep, good questions.
Right.
Good questions normally are very short questions. Why must you buy? How soon must you buy? What's stopping you? How can I help you see this? How can I help you? How can I support you? The word is support, right? How can I support you that you will feel that this is the best option for you? You ask him to tell you lah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that was a powerful question when you asked, how can I support you? I'm like, oh, okay, I haven't thought about this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It works all the time. It works all the time. And eventually, 2 days later, and this happened to me probably 70% of the time. 2 days later, the buyer will call me, John, I think I'm ready.
Huh.
Let's go. Without me
Yeah.
showing anything else. Because the fear was overcome. It's always about fear. The motivation factor behind is always fearful of losing out, fearful of this, fearful of that. But when you assure them you are willing to help them, you actually so it's like when you're standing next to someone and say that that's the mountain, let's go it together, that person will feel less fear. Right. It happens to me a lot in those days.
That's really cool. Well, I see a lot of you can get your feedback there in the chat. Yeah, basically helping the buyer to think and see into the heart of the client. Yeah, it's great.
Mariah, maybe I can add in a bit more. But I mean, it supports this topic of like coming buyer's reluctance, but it's like a bit of from plucked from the sky, right?
Sure.
So just revisiting what John mentioned just now about being the local economies of choice, I think that's really, really crucial in the shipping market. Regardless of how bad the market is, right? When there's buyers, as long as we know our stuff, we look, because a lot of things that we read in the papers, these are all like national stuff, the interest rates are, this and that. It's very nationalized. It's on a much higher level. But when you're dealing with genuine home buyers, especially, genuine home buyers especially, they want to know the local market. Like what John said, as long as we tell them things like, okay, so maybe I just give an example, okay?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I think that'd be better to illustrate. About a year plus ago, there was 2 listings that I really wanted to sell, okay, in the same area. And I had 2 different buyers for 2 of those listings, and they were both able, they could afford a property. They were in terms of readiness and willingness, not really there, because they have their own properties. There is no need to shift out immediately. But those 2 properties were good deal properties. Immediately, like it might not be good deal in terms of the pricing, but it's good deal in terms of the condition. Okay. So I remember, for me, the objective is to sell that property. And I know these buyers, they like that property, but for them, they're thinking, maybe there could be something better a few months down the road. We are not in a rush. My favorite line, we are not in a rush. So I remember, and I was also at a timeline where I had to sell this property fast. So I remember telling them like, hey, just look, I mean, I really took out the courage. I told them, hey, just look, for this market, for this area, right, there has been like this much properties going for sale. And this one was transacted at how much? And let me tell you the condition inside. But this property was transacted at how much? Let me tell you the condition inside. This property right now is for sale at the same price, slightly higher, but the condition inside is such, So maybe I realized that sometimes what we can do in terms of, back to managing perception again, right? Sometimes buyers want to win or they don't want to lose. But we don't need to think in terms of such a long perspective, like, oh, they feel like they want to win, like, how do I say it? Like, they might not be able to get the best rate. Basically, it's about managing the area that they're competing in.
Right.
Sometimes you don't win in terms of, you might not, there's no guarantees that you'll be buying the lowest price right now, but I can assure you you're buying the best property that's available in the market right now. So you
Right.
still win. You still win. It's about selling that idea of you still win, but maybe not on this scale, which there's no guarantees that would happen regardless. But I can assure you right now in this market, and compared to the last few months, you're already winning. So then maybe they're more likely to pull the trigger. I don't know if I'm getting my message clearly across.
Right, right. So just basically showing them, I mean, you kind of touched on even when I replied to John, right? Like, show me that this property is somehow worthwhile in the midst of all the other properties. If I know that you can prove to me that you know all these properties and this one is actually a good deal and it's what I want. And, you know, you mentioned, but you brought up the issue of condition, the house condition being
Correct.
higher. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the
That's
thing, like,
important to them. Mm.
correct. And then we can also bring in, like what John said just now, bring in the supply data, like telling them like, because those two buyers ended up buying the property at 1.3 million. And because when we were the local economies of choice, we kind of know that the supply is dwindling there already. So what happened is the buyers who bought it a year ago at 1.3 million, right now the same property could be sold at 1.45.
Wow.
So it's about telling the buyers like, hey, the supply is also dwindling. If you don't get it now, in the future, when you come back 6 months down the road, the price could differ. It is true. It is higher now. Yeah. It's about knowing all this data and then crafting it into a story that sells, what I feel.
Right. I like that. Knowing all the data and crafting it into a story that sells. That's beautiful. We can highlight this. John, what do you think about this conversation?
So one sentence to describe what Carmen just said. Facts tell, story sells.
Hey, there we go.
Right? Fact tells, story sells. You need to know the facts and tell a story.
Right, right.
Right? And connect a story to them. Maybe the story has to be connected to their own personal journey right now. Why they're buying, right? So connect to that part. It's important. I know sometimes we want to chop, close a lot of deal, but you've got to sometimes take a step back in this market. And again, this market is about skills, the skills to ask questions. My suggestion to all agents today is you need to practice asking questions as soon as possible. There's a question on the chat in Facebook I'm seeing now. In the first instance, we usually in contact with buyer for a short period of time. Getting buyer to buy needs trust from buyer. Any advice? Great question, James. Make an appointment to meet him on Zoom or coffee and discuss about this.
What's the story? Can you clarify the question? Can you clarify for everyone?
Yeah, I think the question is buyers contact are normally a very short period of time. They call me on this phone, they want to meet me and see the property straight away. How do I get the buyer to think that I can be trusted and they want to connect with me? That's the question, right? So it's very simple. Now, viewings, to me, when I look at viewings, right, they're always an opportunity to connect. When I go to an appointment, either with a buyer or seller, my mindset is how do I find an opportunity to connect with them? And sometimes when I make an appointment, it's very hard if I don't know this guy who just suddenly randomly called me and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. He's going to say this guy is crazy, he's scary, right? Some people can, some people are chatty, he can. Some people who know, I just want to see the property. Don't ask me so many questions. There are people like that. Great. It's okay. Go for the appointment, ask questions there, and ask permission. Can I sit down and do a consultation with you? By the way, or send them a questionnaire. I've got 5 questions for you to answer to help me better serve you. Right? Or I could go and take him out for a coffee or lunch to understand what his needs is. The more time and more opportunity I spend to connect with that person, the higher chance is that will trust me. You need to build time and you need time to kind of be able to connect with the people, to the clients, right? So I would say that it's okay the person will answer your phone on the call. A phone call normally lasts not more than 40 seconds to 50 seconds or to a minute. Like you try to talk to a stranger for 2 minutes on the phone is really weird.
Right.
But making an appointment and sitting down and asking those questions, that is just the approach that I think we need to answer James' question. You need to sit down and ask questions and use the viewing as an opportunity.
This is so helpful, I think, because otherwise if you can't make that connection, you can't even do all the things we're talking about, actually.
Correct.
Hey, Carmen, I want to ask you, when you mentioned earlier that story about that guy looking for the 6 bedrooms, whatever, did he tell you when you asked that, why? Was that on the first conversation on the phone that you find out that he wants to be a good father, or like how did that come about?
Okay, I think it happens progressively. Definitely not through first encounter.
Right.
Actually, at the end of the day, it's quite simple. It's like, how do you be a good friend? It's pretty much the same thing. Like, I think as long as you come from a place of authenticity and you are curious about a person, right? Don't talk so much, just ask more questions, just be curious about them. They would feel it. Trust will be built regardless. Yeah. Even if you don't want trust to be built, trust will be built. Yeah. It just happens very naturally, I feel. Yeah. Just be curious about a person. That's the easiest thing you can do.
Right. Be curious. That's great. So
Because
good.
honestly, when I asked him those questions, it was not because I wanted to sell him to discover his deep why and to connect it to the property. I was just curious, like, why are you spending time looking for property? That's it. And then
Right.
it just happened. Yeah.
So, I mean, just now we addressed the buyer reluctance based on my answer, right? About that I'm afraid I'm not going to get a good deal. Is there any other issues that come up that you find? I'm just curious. Anything else? Any other buyer reluctance issues that come up that we need to address? Maybe anyone in the chat, you can also feel free to share, issues that come up for you with your buyers. And we can get these experts here to share their experience. It will be awesome. Yeah, or anything you can think of, Carmen or John, other reasons, because you even asked me, why else would you not want to buy it? And I was like, oh, I don't know that. That's the only thing I can think of. So is there other reasons?
So many reasons. I mean, I can think of, I want to buy, but my spouse don't want to buy.
Oh, okay.
I like it, but my spouse don't like it. Right. There could be, I am afraid, I am reluctant to sell my property because I haven't sold my property yet. That's why I can't commit to this, right? Or I am not sure whether this neighborhood is the right neighborhood for me, right? Sometimes it's not about the property, it's about the neighborhood as well. So many reasons. You can think of all the reasons in the market, but it all goes back to how can I help you make sure that you are comfortable with this.
Okay.
A lot of times people know the remedies to it one. You just have to ask them. People already know what you just have to go through a journey of self-discover so that they can self-discover and understand what is the how do I overcome this thing myself. And it's a lot of time it's a mindset boundary most of the time. The other thing is probably loan. I mean, I can't afford to get this loan. They're not honest with you. Because if you didn't do the financial part in the beginning, then you have this problem at the end.
Okay. Whether they're able, willing, and ready at the beginning, right? Do they even have the cash and all that?
Right.
But Mariah, one more thing, I think I also made peace with the fact that not all buyers could be, I cannot control like the willingness of all buyers. So I tend to only work with a selective few, which I feel is really willing, able right now. The rest I'll just keep it in my nurturing database. Yeah. I think, as a business and as a realtor, I mean, managing resources, right? Yeah, sometimes some people, you just can't change the fact that they're not willing yet. So it's okay. There's this quote I really like. You cannot force anyone to believe a message that they're not ready to receive, but don't underestimate the power of planting a seed. And then I'll put them on my nurture database.
Can you read it again? It's very nice. Read that again.
You cannot force anyone to believe a message that they are not ready to receive, but don't underestimate the power of planting a seed.
Planting a seed, nice.
Plant a seed today first. You're not willing to, I try my best. You're not ready to, it's fine. The nurture database, I'll put you under my nurture touch points. When you're ready to, let's meet again.
Right.
Yeah.
Even John was saying, right, you mentioned that you will ask those questions, then they come back a couple of days later. Okay, I'm ready. I mean, it's a seed, right? The question itself is a seed.
Yeah, because it set them thinking. Right. If you learn how to help people think, you are very powerful. You are a leader. Leaders help people learn how to think.
Right.
And you teach them how to think by asking them questions.
Yeah. Wow, I'm feeling like some deep stuff happening in my
there's a question. There's a question by Sarah in Facebook right now. I think it's a very good question. Lost a deal recently. Buyer was very interested in the house. Neighbors are all perfect. Reason for rejection is because of predicted recession next year. How do you overcome this? So I will ask a few questions. So Mariah, assuming you are afraid of, right? Let's just role play right now, Mariah. So sorry, Mariah, you're best role play partner right now. So role play is very important, right? Role play is very important. So Mariah, you become the buyer, and I'm going to ask you that you are saying that the market is collapsing. You're afraid that the market will be in recession.
Right.
So here's what I'm going to ask you, Mariah. I understand the reason of you putting this on hold is because you're afraid that there's a recession coming on.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah. I feel very uneasy. Like if I buy now and then later, like the whole thing collapses and then what I have is worthless, then I'm what am I gonna do with this property later, right? I'm scared that I'm gonna regret, right? It's not
Right. When you mean collapse, what does that mean?
Yeah, that maybe, I don't know, like maybe like that big bubble that happened in the US, you know, like where suddenly all the mortgages, the property value becomes so low that the mortgage, you know, people cannot pay their loan already. Yeah.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right. You do know that in the US, subprime was because the banks were lending out to people that can't afford to pay their rental, the mortgage, right? And do you think we have the same situation here, like in the US?
I don't know that. Is it? You have to tell me.
Yeah, so I don't think so, because if you can't qualify for a loan today, you just can't get a loan.
Right.
The way it's
Actually,
running,
it's quite strict here, right? It's quite strict.
it's quite strict here. Yeah, the stringency in subprime lending for property is probably not possible here. So do you think that you will see the similar things that you see in the US?
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question, actually. I have to think about that. So basically, you're saying even if the political situation is not good, or like everything crash, it will not be the same kind of problem. It will not be probably the same effect as that subprime crisis that we saw.
So here's the political crisis that we have today right now, right? Guess what? After 3 months down the road, after the election, what do you think will happen? Like what has happened in the last 2 years? The whole Malaysia experienced 3 prime minister in less than 5 years, right? And what happened to the country?
Somehow it keeps going, somehow.
Yeah, I mean, they will have to deal with the political side, but the economy, the market, everything is moving forward.
Yeah, it's true. We always think it's the end of the world, but somehow it still keeps moving forward.
Right.
Even COVID and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that you have, and because of this fear, do you think that's the reason why you're getting a better value today?
That's interesting, right? So maybe everyone also have this fear, so then they're like concerned.
Yeah. So what happens when everything settles, which they will settle? What will happen? What do you think will happen when everything has settled?
Oh, I think it will start to go up, lah.
Right.
I think it will start to get better.
Right. So isn't this right now a better opportunity for you to potentially pull the trigger?
Good point. You have a good point. Yeah.
So that's the conversation you need to have. And it may not be over one conversation. I'm going to break script right now. It could be over 10, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Keep on having the conversation. Build assurance, have conversation. Eventually, if the guy is ready, he's ready. But if it's for whatever reason, he's so fearful, he's not willing to go ahead, then you can't do much. But having that conversation is very important. Asking those questions is very important. That's the best thing that you can do right now.
Right.
That's the best thing, by asking questions, asking him to think. Everybody is very fearful right now. That's the fact.
Right.
But when everything is settled, then maybe they're ready to pull the trigger. Go find someone else that's ready to pull the trigger right now. That's what Carmen says. Maybe next 2 months during election, nobody is there. But there are some people who are smart. People who have money right now today in the market likely are smarter than most people, because they know the cycles. You just have to go and find them. So if this guy is not ready to pull the trigger right now, is Mariah not ready? I'm gonna thank Mariah and say, don't worry, I will keep you in touch with you. Let's see what happens after election.
Okay, yeah.
Which is just 3 weeks down the road, right? Then I come back to her, but I will focus on other things already. Sometimes, like what Carmen said, we are so obsessed with one buyer and we won't let go, right? And sometimes it's just that you cannot force this through, right? You're gonna move forward. So to Sarah, maybe you have not lost this deal yet. Maybe it's just on hold. Again, I don't know what is the situation that you're in, Sarah, but maybe you have not lost that deal yet. You just have to put on hold.
Right.
Just have to put on hold. Yeah.
So good. I love I'll admit all these role plays are stressing me out, but I think I see there's good learning happening. I want to okay, we need to finish up. So maybe John and Carmen, can you just think anything, last words you want to share with our group? But before you share, I'll just go to the announcements and then we'll come back to you guys. Okay, is that all right? Okay, let's have the announcements. What do we have here today? Okay, Right. Okay. So bad news is that this Winning Monday Shift Edition is coming to a close. We've completed this today, but we will have something new for you next Monday. It'll be a surprise. We don't have the poster yet for that. Okay. All right. Next slide. Okay, this one I'm going to bring Yun Ching on to help to share about this. This is the KW Malaysia Cares. Come, Yun Ching.
Okay, hi, morning everyone. So yes, for those of you who were not at Asia Summit, was it last week? Time flies. I think that was 2 weeks ago. We actually launched KW Malaysia Cares, and we are super excited about this because it's been a few months of a lot of paperwork, a lot of processes that we had to go through, and finally we managed to get this registered. Okay, so just do note that it is a registered society under the Registrar of Societies. So yes, this is a non-profit and is dedicated to serving our associates. As you can see on the poster, I think we've done a lot of unofficial, not unofficial, but we've done a lot of care action steps, you know, like the flood relief fund, the white flag and all that. And this is really just us living out our culture, right? So we want to take it one step further with this nonprofit. So in the next slide, you can see how you can actually support us with this. There are many ways to do it. Of course, donations are greatly appreciated because it is a nonprofit organization. So you can feel free to donate. Another way to actually contribute to our funds is for KW Malaysia agents. You can actually deduct, or at least we can also say pledge from your incoming commissions. So just let your DOAS know or your MCAs, and they will know what to do. Another way to help is also to actually purchase our merchandise. I'm not wearing it right now, but we really love it. Again, all profit sales go to the funds. Everything goes there. And the last but not least, of course, you share it with others. So just talk about what we're doing, why we are doing this, and it's a great touch point also for your clients when you meet them as well. John's holding the shirt.
It's in the
Didn't even
plastic.
take it out of the plastic. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great way to actually show your clients that, hey, this is the real estate company that I'm working in, and we do more than just real estate transactions. So it's a great way to just talk about what you do. So yes, thank you so much, Mariah.
Yay, great. Thank you for sharing. All right. So as well, we have our value stories as usual. You can come and like and share them on our Facebook page as usual. And the next slide. Yeah, so client touch points. I wanted to just say, I saw one of these client touch points. I think it was Anita, and she like put a nice picture of herself like pointing at the graph, and like, I know it was really cute actually. Even it's a simple image, right? But you can download it, you can like add your picture on it, whatever, and then share it out. I think it's a fantastic idea. So please use these to drum up more business. It'll be great. Okay, I think that's the end of our announcements. So let's come back to John and Carmen. We have like 1 minute left, guys. All right.
Carmen, go first.
Yeah, all right, John. Carmen, you go first. What do you want to share with all of us?
Okay, so final words. I think overcoming buyers' reluctance, it doesn't have to be in terms of on the spot, I must overcome their reluctance. It could be later. They could decide later. So I think our jobs is to stay focus on our opportunities, what can be closed in the next 30, 60, 90 days. For the rest who we feel might not fall into the short term, let's put them into a nurture, into a smart plan where we are constantly nurturing them. And when we follow up with them, right? Oh, here's about a fun fact. Did you know that I think 80% of sales happen after the 6th follow-up or something?
Oh,
it's actually a very common sales fact. So don't give up, just keep following up. And every time we follow up, just try to add a bit more value. Yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you.
Right.
John.
So my last advice, I try to finish in 30 seconds, is that the real estate agent profession, to me, is one of the most important profession for the people that we are serving. We have the opportunity and the privilege to serve people, to help get what they want. That is potentially the most important decisions in their lives: buying a property, selling a property. So treat that with respect and care by thinking about how can you do your best to contribute to them. Buyer's reluctance is only part of the process. It is not the only thing. It's not the the main focus. The main focus is how do you help them get what they want? And going through those questions, going through those objections is part of the journey. And there is a long-term journey in this, guys. Don't know how many times I have buyers that bought and sold to me more than once or twice, multiple times. So it's very important for us to think of that this whole journey with the client is not a destination, it's a journey. It's all going together as a journey and helping them see how they can move forward in their decision. Your role, our role, is one of the most important roles in one of the most important decisions in their life. So think of it that way and live that life. It's a very fulfilling life. You have seen so many stories. I have not told you a lot. I have a lot of stories to tell you. I've experienced a lot of things in my journey to know that there's so much value you can bring to the market and bring to the community. So please lift up to that and do what you can best to help people get what they want.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carmen, for joining us. And thank you, Jonathan, for joining us. Thank you all of our guests on Facebook and here on Zoom. Really appreciate it. Hope you all have a fantastic week and we will see you next week. All right. Okay. Take care. Bye, everyone.